And the members of the public, if I may. It is September 11th. This is the 20th anniversary of the largest lives and attack on the United States. Families are still suffering. There's thousands are still unidentified. May I ask for a moment of silence on this anniversary? Thank you very much.
Thank you. The city secretary will please call the roll.
Mayor Gloria Whitehead,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Aurora LeBrun,
I'm here.
Councilmember Judy Brizendine,
Present.
Councilmember Bob Hambert,
Here.
Councilmember Brent Pulley, Councilmember Jeff Frasco.
Here.
We have a quorum to proceed. We will take public comments. I have several who would like to speak at the beginning of the meeting. We have Mr. Paul, is it Aligar? Paul.
Try to do this in 3 minutes or less. My name is Paul Algar. I live in Overlook, which is across the street from City Hall. I don't know if you all are familiar with that. I'm here with the approval of the board. I am on the homeowners board, and they supported what I'm about to present. We have an issue relative to the road. I don't know if you all are aware of it or not. I got to talk to this. Is this on? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all are aware of it, but the road that's in Overlook belongs to the city of Woodcreek. I have included a copy of the quick claim deed that's duly executed. The problem is, the best I know, the roads have never been maintained with one exception. 2 years ago, thanks to Brenton, the highway, I think it's county, came in and fixed 3 potholes. But that does very little to do with all of the decay of the asphalt, the potholes. So we're asking the council to work with us to try to figure out how we take care of the degrading road. One is we get very little car traffic, but we get a lot of foot traffic of senior people, young people pushing their babies, etc., to come up the road to do the car path, which we are going to blacktop totally next week. We've saved for 2 years. Money does not grow on trees. So it's going to be quite an expensive venture for us. So we are getting a lot of people that are saying, hey, we do not like to walk on your streets because of the potholes, and it's an issue, especially from the homeowners. Of the 24 houses in that subdivision, 80% are senior people. Of that, quite a few are very senior people. But I'm talking about I'm talking 90, one's 99 years old, one's 97 years old, quite a few are in the 80s, so they have trouble walking. One even says she doesn't like to put her trash out for fear she'll trip over the potholes. So I help her to go do that. So I've included a copy of the quick claim deed for your information. Also, one of the questions Brenton had was, well, maybe it's the street, but it doesn't go all the way to your house. And I said, oh. So I included a copy of the survey of my house. The copy of the survey of my house shows 0 lot line. In other words, it is your property clear up to my house. Many of them are that way. So when we talk about blacktop or whatever we need to do, we need to talk about the total subdivision. The other thing is I included some of the pictures of degrading asphalt. Now, I understand money does not grow on trees, but we, the Overlook Homeowners Board, would like to work with you to try to figure out some way, maybe it takes a year, 2 years, 3 years, and we pick a plan to do portions at a time. And I'm here because it's budget time, and being on the board, I understand budgets. And I would appreciate if you would take your time and maybe we could work something out and work with the board, because we'll be glad to work with you the best we can. The least we want to do is get into any confrontation. We want to work. Hopefully we can solve your issues. Any questions? I knew I'd do it under 3 minutes.
I've got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Paul, do you have any idea what the cost would be to repair some or all of that over there?
You know, I have no idea. I'm going to say $50,000.
Okay. I walk through there a lot, and I've noticed that as well. You
Yeah,
know, it
thank you
needs
very
some
much.
work. Sure.
You live over on Wilson?
I live on Woodcreek, but I cut by Aurora's
Good
house
walk.
and through your place. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Any other questions? If not, I would like to get somebody designated to come talk to the board as to what plans that you're going to do to support taking care of this situation, whether it be something we do portion or whatever, and we'll be glad to work with you.
I have a question, sir. When is your board meetings?
Our board meeting, one I believe is next week, and then we have one every month, and then we send emails to all the residents after each board meeting. So we do a good job of communicating. And I'll be glad if somebody identifies somebody, I'll be glad to notify them of all the meetings.
Well, I'm just going to ask you if you do provide copies of those to the city hall.
Oh, sure.
Great.
To
So
Linda or
the
somebody?
City manager would be the person that would be the contact for you.
Got him. Great guy, by the way.
Thank you very much. We think so too.
Any other? Pretty much agree?
Absolutely.
Well,
We appreciate you coming.
God bless you and God bless America.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much. Mr. Swinburne.
Hi, I'm Chad Swedberg. I live at 110 Augusta Lane. I'm here to talk about short-term rental, and basically, I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand why we seem to have total inaction from the city regarding enforcing the ordinance that we have. I see there's an agenda item, but there was nothing attached. So as far as the additional information, so I have no idea what's going to be addressed today. But it sounds like we're considering drawing up a new ordinance, but the ordinance we have is very simple, very clear, very appropriate. We just have chosen not to enforce it. And I have talked to a couple people on the council and tried to get some information. Why are we not? I haven't really gotten a good answer. Especially I'm trying to understand why it appears the city is taking the homeowner to court to enforce the city's own ordinance. And that's backwards. The city shouldn't be taking anybody to court to enforce their own ordinance. It just gets enforced. Instead, if the homeowner feels that their rights are being violated because of the ordinance, they should take the city to court. And that's not the case. And I hate to throw politics into this, but I can't help but note that the people involved are very well politically connected. And every time I sort of bring that up, I get, oh, no, 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 no. But I know if I was giving my house short-term rental, somebody would be enforcing it on me. At least they would have put a sign in front of my house to say I'm in violation of the ordinance. I've suggested that, but that hasn't even occurred. So the council has, for some reason, chosen not to enforce the existing ordinance. I'd like an explanation, but I've never got it. So, and I certainly hope we are not talking about redoing the existing ordinance, which is a great ordinance. We just haven't enforced it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Ray Don Tilley.
Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to address y'all and appreciate your service to the city. I'm wearing two hats today. First, I wanted to speak just as a citizen and go all the way to the end of the agenda. And item 14 that considers an overlay zoning for the Brook Meadow neighborhood. I'm glad to see that on the agenda, and I commend that to you. I think that that would be a great step in the right direction if we could begin that process. I understand it's not overnight, but I think that's the right direction to go for that part of the city. Also, as a contributor to the Woodcreek Parks project, as far as donations, I'm glad to see that y'all are looking to receive those and hope they can be put to use. And so on that note, on the same agenda item, speaking as creative director for the Wimberley Valley Watershed Association, just want to commend the city for the Woodcreek Parks project that has been proposed to the Hays County Parks and Open Space Advisory Commission, and especially Pat Rawlings and the Parks and Recreation Board for putting that together and for him presenting it to the POSAC folks. WVWA as an organization certainly supports that project, and any city or neighborhood that is paying attention to parks for people. And at the same time, we have proposed a number of projects to POSAC and still have one yet to file. And one of those is the Cypress Creek Decorative Trail that is in Woodcreek, and that we think would be a great addition to the city of Woodcreek. And so we would like to see a resolution. I think this is something that the Parks and Open Space Advisory Commission would like to see, is a resolution of mutual support. And so I'm here to offer, WVWA's hand of friendship, and we're going to vote on a version of the resolution, hopefully one we can use. We'll vote on that. Our board will on Saturday, and that language has been sent to you all. So hopefully something in the future can be done on that topic. So thanks for your attention. Appreciate your work.
Thank you, Ray Don. We appreciate it. There are no other public comment requests. I'm just going to ask and be certain if there's anyone else that would like to speak. We will proceed to the consent agenda. And the first item is approval of the city council meeting minutes from August 11, 2021. And the approval, item 2, approval of the special city council meeting minutes from August 25, 2021. Do I have a motion regarding the consent agenda items?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda items as read.
Do I have a second? This consent agenda items 1 and 2. On the regular agenda, oh, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Rasco,
Aye.
Councilmember Pulley,
Aye.
Councilmember Hambrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Brizendine,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun.
Motion carries unanimously. On the regular agenda, I would like to make an announcement that we will be removing item 12 from today's discussion and action. This was discussion and take action on a recommendation of the Park and Recreation Board to receive donations to support the Woodcreek Parks project. The Parks Board voted to table that matter until after the either approval or disapproval of their parks grant. So we'll proceed with that removed from today's action. We'll go to item 3, discussion and take appropriate action on awarding a bid to the lowest responsible bidder for the Woodcreek Drive overlay project. And we have a presentation.
Yes, Madam Mayor. We do have a representative, Kay Freeze, here. I would like to preface it that on September 2nd of this year, that at 2 p.m. we did open 2 sealed bids, and our representative, Kay Freeze, also come up. And they did do the diligent work of reviewing the bids themselves and doing the background. And would you like to present your findings?
Thank you, Council. Can I raise a quick point of order here? I just got this 5 minutes ago. In terms of Open Meetings Act, I mean, is that sufficient notice to the public and notice to us? You know, an entire bid package that I can handed 5 minutes before the meeting.
What is the basis of the complaint?
I'm sorry, say again.
What is the objection?
The objection is I just got this 5 minutes ago. You know, this should have been in our packet when the whole package was posted last week, so that we would have time to look at it, evaluate it, the public would have time to look at it and evaluate it. So I'm concerned about simply notice under the Open Meetings Act, whether or not that is sufficient or proper.
I'm pulling up the language. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, I wish I had that language committed to memory. I don't.
May I go ahead and just rule that we will proceed with this presentation? And then you can look at that, look up if you like, but in the meantime,
If I may, I just want to, is the objection under 551-041 government code?
I don't have the code memorized. I filed a formal objection with your office, so whatever that says.
Right, and generally, I mean, that section reads, the governmental body shall give written notice of the date, hour, place, and subject of each meeting held by the governmental body. Do you feel that agenda item 3 is lacking any of those things?
I do, because it talks about possibly awarding a bid. There's no bid in our packet. We just got handed it to us when we sat down. So that in order to give us fair notice of that, it should have been in the packet, you know, when the notice was posted, just like everything else would be. Otherwise, when you hand it to us just now, the public hasn't seen it. I just now saw it. So that's not proper notice under the act of what we're looking at doing today. If this would have been in the packet last week, I wouldn't have had a problem.
That's fine. I just want to be clear. Were you aware of the subject that was to be discussed?
Not really. I don't know if we're awarding a bid. I have no idea exactly what that means. The language is in itself is kind of vague and hard to understand. The gist of it is this. That should have been part of the notice. And I'm just getting it now. So I've got a problem in terms of the open meetings aspect of it. And we got fair notice, as the public got fair notice, and it's almost a $400,000 bid. So it's a significant piece of business for us. Thank you very much.
I'm going to proceed, and you may go ahead and present your report.
Thank you. If I may, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I was a city councilman for another reason, and you were there, and I had the opportunity to be introduced. I don't know if the other members of council have had the opportunity to. You are new to the relationship with the city, so maybe you can.
Yes, ma'am. So I took, can everybody hear me all right? So my name is Austin Metzgerly. I'm the project engineer for K. Freeze and Associates. I took over this project from a previous engineer a little over a month ago, and really before we really started putting the plans together. So there was some field work done prior to me coming on board, but I was responsible for the project documents that were bid on last week, and throughout the entire process from there on out. K. Freeze and Associates has done a lot of work for the city, not transportation related, but as well as others engineering related. And so we have a history with the city of Woodcreek. So pertaining to the Woodcreek Drive overlay, last week we opened bids. We had 2 competitive bidders, Lone Star Paving as well as Alpha Paving Industries. Lone Star Paving was the higher of the 2 at $387,612. The low bid, Alpha Paving Industries LLC, was $381,840.80. In the document that was referenced, there is a little bit of breakdown of the cost difference on two specific items. But with relation to the engineer estimate that we put together, there's a 1.53% difference in the engineer's estimate and the low bid Alpha Paving Industries. And one of the main things that we like to do after we see all the unit costs and the information is get as much information on the respective low bidder, which in this case is Alpha Paving. So we sent them a document which is based on a statement of their experience, and to provide 3 similar projects that they've worked on in similar scope to the one we're having here, Woodcreek Drive. One was with the city of Round Rock, one was with the city of Austin, and one was the city of Georgetown. I reached out to all 3 of their references, was able to get a hold of 2 of them, the city of Austin as well as the city of Georgetown, and spoke really highly of them. I believe one of them said, very impressed with what they do, and he highlighted very, he doesn't use that term often, so he wanted to make sure that that came across. I also reached out to another individual that was on this project previously that I took this over. He was no longer with K-Freaks. I've worked with them on 2 projects. Said similar words. Very well, outstanding outfit, and they are very reputable. So upon hearing that, that was kind of the final. We want to put the dot on the crossing the T on giving the recommendation to Alpha Paving Industries. Our recommendation is for the city to provide them with I'm here to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Before we go into questions, do you mind to go ahead and get a motion on this matter? And a second, if possible, and then we can have discussion and take the questions. Do I have a motion on the item?
I would like to move that we get the recommendation from the city engineer Paving Industries and lowest as possible.
I second that motion.
We have a motion by Laura Braun. We have a second by Councilmember Brisendine.
But
Now,
just for your
for
point of
discussion,
order,
and I would like for any council member,
are we proceeding
I
even though
would
this is
like
open
to,
meeting
any
second?
council member, please be acknowledged for speaking out.
So,
I'm actually even, there was a misunderstanding about our meeting date. And since we talked about we came in, but it is.
Yes.
We need a motion regarding the actual date that shows and then September 8th, September 9th. I believe it's just a
It is a technicality that it makes you feel better, get amended.
Yes.
Thank you, Bob. All right. So,
I'd like to be recognized if I can, please.
oh, sorry.
Yes. But are we proceeding on this despite the Open Meetings Act concerns?
Yes.
We are proceeding on this. I've overruled you on that
Okay.
matter.
Okay, and
So
you're
we
aware
are
of my
going
objection,
forward.
correct?
We have a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second, and now we have discussion. Would you like?
I just have one question. I'd like to ask Councilmember Rasko and Pulley why they were not present for the bid opening, like the rest of us.
I never saw anything about it. Where
Well,
would that have come from?
The actual bid notice stated, that was published in the paper,
That's right.
stated the date and the time the bid opening would occur.
The bid notice.
And it was also posted on the front.
Yes.
On the
door
front.
in Our regular posting areas.
Yeah,
And what
but
is it?
Remember, wouldn't I expect to get something from city staff?
I think we're expected to do our due diligence. I did.
I thought we had to be recognized before we
I
spoke.
did not
so-
recognize you
Well, did you
yet.
recognize her?
Would you please ask to be recognized?
Can I be recognized?
Are you
I'm finished.
finished? Yes.
Okay,
Councilmember
so
Foley.
we got notice of this in the newspaper?
No,
The, under the regulations that we have to post notice of the bid opening and where the specifications can be obtained. So that, it was advertised in Wimberley View and also the San Marcos newspapers, is also on our website.
Okay, but I mean, you didn't send council any notice that there's going to be a bid opening?
We've never done that before.
What all, how many members of council were at the bid opening?
Two.
Two. That's convenient.
It was
I would appreciate it if you would keep your little sidebar remarks to yourself, Councilmember Pulley. It's inappropriate to do that at this council table. Do you have something, Councilmember Brasco? I would think anyone has been well aware that this has been a project that's been moving, that the citizens expect to have done. So there will be no more delays as far as this council, I believe, is concerned.
okay. We have,
Do you have something, Councilmember LeBron?
I would like to get to the substance of the bid and questions.
So do
I
you,
do want to mention that we have been discussing this project. We have been discussing the calendar for the project. And I think it's, yes, I do believe in notice, but I also believe in the responsibility that we each have to become aware of what the events that we have to attend. But I would
now,
like to
are
move
there
to
any,
that.
are there any,
If I may continue.
yes.
I have a question on the cost. You pointed out the most significant differences, and the first item, preparing the right-of-way, is not that big, but $5, we're talking about from 50 cents to $5, $27,000 to broadcast seed.
Yes, that is how much they anticipated that cost to be.
And I know this is a bid, and, but you're asking, your recommendation is that we award the construction contract to Alpha Paving Industries. My question is, I think their qualifications are fine. I think the statement of work is fine. However, between your recommendation and actual award, I think there are some items that need to be discussed and negotiated. If we have to eliminate that broadcast category, I'm sure that we can get a contract for somebody to broadcast a seed, a land for much less. So that's what I would like to know, that what room do we have here to address the costs that are out of proportion?
So that specific item is actually in the plans as to be used as necessary. So there is a chance that that specific item will not be used. So
Okay.
it could actually be zero. Now, we don't really have, and this is not my legal, but we can't really necessarily negotiate unit costs either, I believe, by the way with this being a low cost bid. Now we can not produce items how they are in the plans, as like I talked about the broadcast seating. But as far as there's limits on negotiation when it has a unit bid price.
And this question may be more for the attorney than it is for you, but in an award, you say this is not this is a discretionary item. So is it possible to award minus this?
No, the request was made containing certain language. The bids were provided based on that language, and we need to accept a bid as submitted or reject it. And ultimately, if the council wants to reject a bid, it then has the discretion to alter the conditions of the bid and provide for, say in this instance, removal of the seed, and then bid that out separately and independently. But this is a bid that was submitted based under very strict and rigid procurement laws. And this is one area where we oughtn't try and get cute with what we're trying to do.
Councilmember Brizendine?
One of the things I'd say to you, Aurora, on the broadcasting, we know we already have erosion problems, and if we don't broadcast and it doesn't happen simultaneously, all of our edges will be compromised. So I think that we're kind of nitpicking a little bit on that item. I'll just be honest about that, because we already know that that is a big factor here. You know what I'm saying?
It's just the difference.
It is a huge
It is
difference.
a huge difference.
It is a huge
Okay.
difference.
Thank you for the question.
I'm always trying to negotiate.
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Hambrick?
I was at that bidding process and I asked a question then, and I'll ask it. I'm not going to ask the question, but I'll mention what the question was. Are we talking about apples versus apples and apples versus oranges? And I think that Cape Freeze has done a good job of nitpicking it themselves before they brought it to us. And because of that, I think that what we have here is adequate. I agree with the broadcasting, but like we said before, that may be something that not necessarily negotiable, but it may be a lesser amount than what's already here.
Thank you.
Councilmember Pulley?
Yeah, just a couple questions. Scope of work of this is just paving, is that right?
Yes, just a mill and overlay.
Overlay.
Okay, and so there's nothing in the design process or anything with regard to, say, traffic calming or trying to make this roadway safer?
No, there's not.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I have
Councilmember
one other
Brizendine?
question. How many bidders were there?
We had two.
And did we have trouble getting two bids?
I don't think I would say we had trouble getting two bids. We used, besides the San Marcos paper that was mentioned, the Wimberley paper that was mentioned, we used a site called Civcast and actually spoke with a few contractors before this because it was a new website kind of in the construction industry that I was not familiar with. And we've used it a few times at K. Freeze and Associates. And so I reached out to help increase the advertisement and the potential bidders' response. And even when we were at the pre-bid meeting, Lone Star Paving, who was there, said that that's the best program that they like to use as well because of a lot of different reasons. So as far as did we have difficulties, I would say no, but I think we did a really good job of getting it advertised to as many people as we could.
But we didn't get a huge response.
Can I ask, do we know how many people have actually looked at the plans?
Yes, we had about 27 that downloaded the plans from this website. And that was in addition to about 3 people that we sent the plans to. Alpha Paving was actually one of those. So
Okay. Thank you.
Would you
Sorry
mind
for the
repeating
misunderstanding.
How many of those for the record?
um,
Did you say 27?
Uh-huh.
off the top of my head, I think it was around 27.
27.
And then we sent it out to, I think I said 3, but I think 2 bidders that I can think of. And I could send the list from Civcast if you all would like that.
Councilmember
Just
Bradshaw.
quick. So if we award the bid today, what would you project would be a start time and a finish time on a project like this?
Well, we have a 30 days from notice to proceed. So if this is approved, we can work with the contractor to getting that notice to proceed. And then they have 30 days to finish it, to get final completion, and then another 14 for substantial completion. But many of the contractors that we were saying, the 30 days, they may have to be able to do it sooner. So 30 days is kind of the max.
You're saying to start in 30 days?
No, that's, so
From
the notice,
today?
no, we will have to give the contractor notice to proceed. And then that, once we give that, they will have 30 days from the notice to proceed.
Were there any other questions? Any other comments? We'll call the question. City Secretary will call the roll.
Councilmember Rasco?
Aye.
Councilmember Hambrick?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun?
Aye.
Councilmember Brizendine?
Aye.
Councilmember Pulley?
I'm voting no. We're just making this faster and more dangerous. We need to have some kind of safety protocols in terms of traffic calming in the scope of work, so I vote no.
Motion carries. 4 ayes, 1 nay. So I'm going to change up the order of the, thank you so much, by the way. We will excuse you at this time. We appreciate it. I promise not to ask you any questions on the next agenda item. Okay, what I am going to do is skip to the item 13, and then we'll follow with item 14. So we will take care of these 2 items next. So item 13, discussion and take appropriate action on referring the discussion and recommendation of a short-term rental ordinance to the City of Woodcreek Planning and Zoning Commission. So, Bud, would you mind just giving a little background about the timing and what it is that the city plans to do, or at least we're proposing at this time regarding the short-term rental circumstances? I think the citizens are having some questions about it and what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that the council merely wishes, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know what the council wishes to do. That the agenda item is intended to give council the opportunity to refer discussing the possibility of an STR ordinance to planning and zoning for their consideration. There is, over the last several years, recent and conflicting case law within the state of Texas that needs to be thoughtfully and diligently considered in looking at any short-term rental ordinance that the city may desire to pass and approve. And this is the beginning process that the city follows in making any change to zoning classification, and a short-term rental ordinance would certainly do that.
So would I be correct just basically in saying that the council, the reason that we want to visit this and send it to P&Z for review is to get an update on all of the legal issues that are out there that the city has restricted short-term rentals, and most, I will say a majority favor that, but that doesn't mean everyone favors it. But we want to be in a position, if we in fact do attempt to, I don't want to say code enforce, but if we do want to enforce our short-term rental ordinances, we need to be certain that we are on firm ground as a city in that taking those positions. And we want the lawyers, the ordinance reviewing, and public hearings on the matter.
Well,
to
and-
get
and-
as
and I-
much input. Am I correct? Or
I think you hit the nail on the head on the last part, which is substantial and thorough public input on the issue.
yes,
Not only in front of planning and zoning, but ultimately if the issue lands back in the lap of city council, thoughtful and exhaustive public input at that point as well.
so we would have plenty of time and we would anticipate public hearings on the matter and public comments besides just looking at a new ordinance. No one is talking about a new ordinance. We're talking about reviewing and implementing a strong position, if that's what the community wants.
There is no draft ordinance that could even be considered today. It does not exist. It's merely a matter of discussion.
So with those comments made, do I have a motion on the matter?
For the
To
purpose of
to
the
refer,
discussion, for the purpose of that we can enter into discussion, I would like to make a motion that we refer the discussion and recommendation of a short-term rental ordinance to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
and do I have a
I'll second
second?
that. Yes.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun, second by Councilmember Hambrick, and now we'll open for discussion on the referral to P and Z. Councilmember Pulley.
But if I understand, we're not referring any specific ordinance, despite the language of the agenda request. We're not sending any specific ordinance to P and Z. We're just going to talk about the concept of short-term rentals and then what? Draft a new ordinance, or that's what I'm not clear on what we're doing. I think it needs to be addressed. I'm just not sure what process we're invoking here.
The agenda item reads, discuss, take appropriate action on referring the discussion and recommendation of a short-term rental ordinance to the City of Woodcreek Planning and Zoning Commission.
What I'm saying is, are we referring an ordinance to them, or are we just going to start with P and Z and say, we've got an STR issue, how do you guys want to address it? And then maybe
That's my understanding. This is merely the springboard for that conversation. But as I said a minute ago, there is no ordinance. To the extent someone points to the Code of Ordinances as they presently read, and they say there is a short-term rental ordinance within the existing Code of Ordinances. Okay, that's fine. What I'm saying is separate and apart from that. There is not a draft. There is nothing that exists that will be given to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is merely referring a discussion.
So we want to start that discussion, but the way to start it is to have it start with P and Z and then come to us then, right?
Council refers to P and Z, asks them to do some legwork on it. It gets kicked back up to the council potentially.
Okay. Mike,
Councilmember Hambrick.
The last time this came around, back in 2019, the discussion wasn't necessarily about the ordinance itself. It was about where someone could have an STR, and specifically on Champion Circle, and whether or not that was appropriate. The only other place we have STRs in the city are at the very end of Woodcreek Drive on the right-hand side before you go down the hill. That's it. Like I said, we did not discuss the standards of what the behavior would be or anything else as far as an STR. This particular one, if I could single you out, Mr. Swedberg, is about a house right next door to him that has caused some problems. And so if we were to talk about this particular thing, what we talk about is how should they behave if they were an STR? And in that case, then maybe we would have to reposition the zoning situation that we have, because where that particular house is not an STR. It's not zoned for that. So I feel for him specifically because of the behavior, and I'm about 150 yards away from him. He's 15 yards away from it. I'm 150 yards away from it. It affects me too. And we would like to make sure that whatever we do have is appropriate for the city of Woodcreek.
Councilmember LeBrun.
You go ahead. You had your hand
Oh,
up
I'm
first.
sorry.
I'm just kind of confused. I just need to be straightened out here because, in our ordinances, it does that we have a zoning classification, that for SCR, and it covers those cottages over there. So that everything else does not have that zoning specification. So, I mean, it's already codified, right? I mean, so it's, are we just trying to get a broader perspective? Because if there's another house anywhere in Woodcreek that is not part of those cottages, that is operating as SCR, they're in violation of our code of ordinances, correct?
I sympathize. I want to answer your question, Jeff.
Maybe, maybe not.
I'm not going to get into answering that in an open meeting for fear that that will divulge something that I think needs to remain confidential and privileged. If there's a point in the future where we go into executive session to discuss that, I'm happy to do so. I just don't think that I can do that without violating my duties to the city.
Well, I think that I need to say, I can say it, but I'm not going to talk about the issue that is confidential legally that we have going on in the community. I'm not going to mention that, but we do need, and Jeff stated a basically correct statement, but when you get into the enforcement issues of that statement, it's not that simple. So I just think that we need to put some meat on the bones of this issue for our citizens if we want to have, I hesitate to call it a ban of STRs, but if we want to limit and prevent STRs in our type of community, then we need to have a little meat on the bones through this process that we're suggesting. And that's the most I can say about that today.
If I may, one of the issues that has been raised by citizens is that our code is silent as to not having short-term rentals. And by short-term rentals, we mean a rental that is less than 30 days. That having short-term rentals in the city. And so you have to, I have had to explain this more than once and say, well, go to the chapter 156 and you'll see all the zoning and you will see there is one section. So if the section is listed, it is for short-term rentals. The ones that are not, is not. I think we need to do better than that. I think we need to have something that is clear. It is also the issue that citizens in the summer of 2019 were extremely vocal about, even due to some unfortunate circumstances, they were extremely vocal about the potential of the city considering short-term rentals. And there were some discussions at PSC, but they didn't go any further. So here we are 2 years later, we need something.
And we also discussed and considered the idea, we have an ordinance review committee, but that just would not have been anything more than passing over, going to identifying the problem as just an ordinance, because that is not the issue. We have a larger issue. And by going on a referral to P&Z, getting citizen input, more legal studies, more meat on those bones, we can come out with a better plan. That was the idea of the agenda item, if that has helped.
I'd like to call a question, please.
All right. Any other? City Secretary, call the roll.
Councilmember Brizendine.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun.
Aye.
Which one?
I'm sorry. She answered when I called you. Okay, let's do that again. Councilmember Brizendine.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun.
Aye.
Councilmember Pulley.
Aye.
Councilmember Rasco.
Aye.
Councilmember Hambrick.
Aye.
Well, we have a unanimous passage. Motion carries. So we'll go to item 14, discussion and take appropriate action on referring the consideration of a possible change in zoning classification. And I will not read the entire item today. And so but to begin the discussion, do I have a motion?
For the purposes of discussion?
Yes.
Second.
Okay.
I move that we refer for consideration to the City of Woodcreek Planning and Zoning Commission, a change in zoning classification, including a potential zoning overlay and/or lot subdivision minimum of 1 acre for the area defined in agenda item 14 and shown in the aerial view on page 30 of the packet, requiring 1 acre or more lot sizes for all future development in Brook Meadow neighborhood.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second. We have a motion by Councilmember Fresco and second by Mayor Pro Tem LeBron. And we will have open for discussion. Councilmember Fresco.
Thank you. Like a lot of you, I'm sure, I get a kick out of traveling up and down Brook Meadow and seeing those lovely houses nestled way back in those deep, large lots, huge creek canopy. It's a wonderful welcome to the city of Woodcreek when you're coming in. The fun very well if you're on your way out. Brook Meadow is a unique, valuable asset, much like the golf course, raising the image of all Woodcreek and likely increasing property values throughout the city. Where most of the properties in Brook Meadow are half an acre or above, with single-family homes taking up most of the acreage. Recent and proposed developments have taken a different turn. The great majority of our Brook Meadow neighbors have expressed concerns over allowing the degradation of the charm and character of the neighborhood. This should be a concern for us all. After hearing plans to possibly put from 15 to 20 homes on a 5-acre tract near the entrance, several citizens expressed concerns that it could be just the beginning, with other tracts being subdivided into lots well below the average size. After discussion with the city manager and the city attorney, it was suggested to propose an ordinance defining Woodcreek as a distinct district and restricting further development to lot sizes of 1 acre or more. Special thanks to city staff and to our attorney for helping get this together. This concept that we're asking planning and zoning to review and recommend back to council as part of the zoning ordinances is designed to protect the integrity and unique character of Brook Meadow, as well as our property values throughout the city. I urge my colleagues to pass the motion, send encouragement to P&Z to move this ordinance forward for their Brook Meadow neighbors and to all citizens of Wood Creek.
So is there any other discussion?
I'd like-
Councilmember?
May I be recognized?
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a comment about this before it goes to P&Z. We have several residents over there that have already subdivided their lots. They've already capitalized on their investment. And now we're asking P&Z to look at restricting other homeowners and not allowing them property rights. And I have an issue with that, as do I think some of the residents over there. So I feel like this is more of a politically motivated discussion, but I am for sending it to P&Z first.
Yes, if I may. I know of a specific case where they subdivided the 1 acre lot into half acres, which would be an acceptable size for a very nice home. And this is this is not a corporation, it's not a developer. Land in Wood Creek has increased tremendously in value. And the number of buildable lots in Wood Creek is also is decreasing significantly. We have less than 70.
Well, our last count was 126.
126, including Brook Meadow. So my concern is that we have residents who have a large lot that is suitable for them to subdivide and sell. And this would interfere with their property rights. That's what I would like. I think that it is something for public and for planning and zoning. It is something to go to public hearing, to hear of all the people. I am concerned about those private individuals that, and I know of several that are considering that's subdividing their lots.
Mayor, can I
Yes.
interject because, and let me explain why we had the difference between the 76 and the 126.
Okay, good.
Okay, because when we originally did a count of the lots that were available, so we might have one person that their house was sitting on one lot, but they owned 3 other lots next to it. We did not count those as maybe could be developed. The last time we did our count, like we had one on Brook Meadow, the house was sitting on one lot, but they had 3 other lots that had never been joined to their main lot. So when we went through and did our count this last time, we actually looked at the properties where a house might be on one lot, but they still had a lot next to them that could be developed. But at the time, you know, it was part of their property, but it had never been joined.
And I may ask a question to what you said. That example of a house sitting on 3 lots is the house having 3 lots and the house sitting on one of them. Is each of those lots an acre?
No.
Madam Mayor? if I
Do
could.
we have any idea how many houses or how many properties are on Brook Meadow that would be subject to this restriction?
We have not taken account. The staff will be working with planning and zoning to be able to find how many lots there are actually in the Brook Meadow area that are sitting on one lot, but they might have 3 other lots that could be developed.
And could you just take a moment and we'll get on with more discussion and the question. Would you take a moment on just a summary of the process that we'd be looking at to accomplish this? Because I don't want the citizens, in order, Mr. Rasco, I'm sure understands that this isn't something that happens, you know, in a few weeks. So we don't want anyone to have, you know, expectations of something being faster than it's possible. It's certainly doable.
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
and since this would require a zoning change or an overlay district, then it goes through the same process as a zoning change. So when it goes to planning and zoning, they'll do their due diligence about how it will affect that area. That might be bring in, speak with their attorney and just do all the property evaluations and where the pitfalls are. Then they would make a recommendation to the city council to make the changes possible. Then after that process, then the council, first it would go to planning and zoning for public hearings.
Mhm.
And then it would go before the city council for public hearings. Now, when we do the public hearings, we will have to notify every resident that is affected in the Brook Meadow subdivision. And also everyone within 200 feet of those properties. So that could mean people on Pebblebrook, there's people on Augusta, there's people on,
Augusta Lane.
well, they're inside of it. But then, so anybody within 200 foot, so that could be, I don't know, we haven't taken account of the homes, but it could be over 200 homes that would have to be notified. And then we just go through that process. After it goes through planning and zoning, they'll make a recommendation to council. After the hearings, council then, if it's decided to change, then they will direct the staff to draft an ordinance for that change. And then it goes back and the ordinance will be adopted, if that's what council wishes.
And I do want to also point out, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
This agenda item was posted without assessments, without background information, without a lot of data. But I think that in the spirit of the interest in proceeding with getting this to P&Z, that I do thank staff and appreciate that you were willing. And I was willing to put it on an agenda and not be criticized terribly because it did not have backup materials.
And if I may, I do I received the packet and I had tried to understand it. I think I understood it, but I approached the mayor to say, are we going to get more? Because in the past, whenever we presented, when a council member presents an agenda item, our practice has been that we present the item, we describe the reasoning, and then the impact, and then provide the documentation. I would like to see us go back to that process for both for ourselves as well for those who are reading the packet. And I do agree with moving it to B and C. I did not want to create any issues to delay. I do agree to moving it to P and C. And I do think that we need to make it a process where there is ample opportunity for citizens to participate and provide input, particularly those citizens that own multiple lots. And we are right now experiencing, in the last decade, this city had the 21% growth ever. We are a much desired location for families with children, younger retirees. And here is someone who's sitting on 3 lots and has the opportunity to realize a profit on their investment. Are we harming that person? We need to consider all of that.
Thank you. May I go to Councilmember Camber, and then I'll come back.
I think this is really directed at our manager. Exactly what does the term potential zoning overlay mean? In other words,
Yes.
the reason why I asked that question is does that mean that something that's already platted can be rezoned to something else? Let's say that it's platted to a very high density situation and we replat it and we rezone it to say it's going to be a much lower density. Is that what that means, or does it mean something else?
No, I can answer that one. I'll answer it. Okay, an overlay. So right now, the Brook Meadow subdivision has several zoning districts right now because of Villa Meadows. It also has the apartment complex. It has the duplexes, things like that. So there's several areas that are zoned differently in the Brook Meadow area. An overlay district, what it does is it basically will say, covers all those areas and says, and whatever would be recommended, that nothing smaller than 1 acre tract can be developed in any of those areas. So you cover all the areas instead of trying to rezone each area itself. So it would be, it could be an SF1 with an overlay district of 1 acre tracts. I'm just using that as an example, but it would actually be defined that that overlay covers all those areas.
Would any of that cause any eminent domain problems?
When you look at when the city originally was organized, there's several areas in the Brook Meadow area that if somebody wanted to challenge their property rights, they would be able to, whatever it was platted as when it came into the city, they could go ahead and develop it.
I think you're straying into legal opinion there. I'd rather hear that from Bud than from you.
I don't think anyone gave you the go-ahead to speak. Mr. Pulley? Mr. Rasko?
I do have another question.
Okay.
Okay.
Bud?
In any time that a city takes action to alter someone's property rights and potentially take away valuable property rights, they always run the risk of being sued.
And that was what I was going to say, is that having discussed it with the city manager and been working with the city attorney, since they actually suggested to me that maybe we could do this 1 acre ordinance. It was no, my idea. It's like, oh, we could do it. We could maybe do an ordinance around that. That's what this all terminated. And in talking with the city manager later and discussing, specifically the duplexes at the top of Brook Meadow, where that's how that was platted, and those were the property rights. So if those property rights are in place and those plats are in place, They remain. I understand that, and I think the residents of Brook Meadow need to understand that. All I'm saying is that this is aimed at future development and to try to put something blanket out there that says this part of our city is special, and we'd kind of like to keep it that way. We don't want it to turn into, little, alternatives out there. There's some hope to keep things good.
Just to be clear, I have not, nor will I ever venture into the policymaking area. When a council member approaches me with a fact scenario that they believe is problematic and something they want to fix, as Councilmember Rasco did, talking about making the lots less, wanting to find a mechanism to keep the lots from continuing to be subdivided. I did for him as I would do for any council member, which is say, if you want to have that discussion, there are mechanisms under the law. That being said, this was not my idea. It would not be my idea because that would be me venturing into the policymaking area. I will not do that, but I will help any council member with their ideas if they have them.
And I will ditto that one.
And I personally think it's a bad idea because we're prioritizing a few owners, and it seems to me to have bias behind it and subject the city to a lawsuit.
Well, I'm glad that we have this on the agenda to discuss and to see some of the ramifications of maybe putting an item on an agenda too soon or without more documentation. But at any rate, the idea is to move this to P&Z. And is there any other discussion? I'll call the question on that matter.
Councilmember Rasco?
Aye.
Councilmember Pulley?
Aye.
Councilmember Brizendine?
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun?
Aye.
Councilmember Hambrick?
Aye.
We have motion carries.
Something funny?
Councilmember Pulley, did you have something you wanted to say?
No.
Oh, okay. Thought you were mumbling over there at us. Let's see. We will go to item, well, it's 4 on the, let's see, what is this? It's item 4 on the agenda. Discussion and take appropriate action on an application for a special event permit from Roger Mast of Cadence Sports for a public event on October 12th, 2021.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we go forth with the discussion and take appropriate action for the special event.
Have a second? Councilmember Hamburg. Motion, Councilmember Rasco, seconded. Any discussion on the matter? We will call the question, please.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun?
Aye.
Councilmember Hambrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Brizendine?
Aye.
Councilmember Pulley?
We're voting to approve the permit. Is that what we're doing?
Item 4 on the agenda.
Okay. If we're voting to approve the permit, I vote aye.
Councilmember Rasco?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 5, discussion and take appropriate action on an application for a special event permit from Donna Crumblis of Life Changes Estate Sales for a public event on September 16th through 18th. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion. We approve this special events permit.
Second? Councilmember Brizendine. Motion. Councilmember Hamburg, second. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Pulley?
Just a quick question, maybe Bud or Brent can answer this. Why does Donna even need a permit to have an estate sale?
The reason we started this is because the amount of traffic that could be in that area. And that way, they have to provide the traffic plan. We make sure everything goes proper at that location because when there is a life estate sales, there is a large amount of traffic that shows up, and it's outside traffic.
Okay, I mean, this is your decision then to start making these folks get permits?
It's a special event permit because of the amount of traffic that comes into the city.
What about a garage sale?
A garage sale is one individual, it's not a business.
So they don't need a permit, but
Yeah,
Donna
if you have a
does.
garage sale at your own residence, no, you do not
Okay.
have to have a permit.
Councilmember Rasko?
Yeah, I mean, I remember this from years ago, and it really is because it's a commercial entity that's conducting the event for the family. So there's, much more advertising, there's much more that goes into it. They're trying to get a large crowd, and they're used to this. This is not, I mean, this has been going on since we were on council
Forever.
before. It's pretty common. If I was to have an estate sale on my own,
You wouldn't.
I would already be dead. It would be
Yeah.
tough. I mean, do I understand
We'd
that
come
right?
and pick over your
Like,
things.
if I was just gonna have a private estate sale and put a sign at the entrance and pay my permit, that would not be required to have a special event.
Right.
I just want to.
This is,
Not-
and if, and I remember, like you do, and I also remember there were some estate sales that were conducted by this particular entity. And we had numerous complaints from citizens that said they were not aware of the size of the event, that people were parking, blocking their mailboxes, they could not get mail delivered. So there was discussion on council at the time that if it was a commercial enterprise and one that would attract larger traffic than you and I selling our beautiful valuables privately, that we would go through the special event permit. So this was an agreement that we made some time ago.
Is there any other discussion? Call the question. City Secretary will call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun,
Aye.
Councilmember Hambrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Rasko.
Aye.
Councilmember Pulley.
Aye.
Councilmember Brizendine.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. So we will go to item 6, and we will enter into a public hearing on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2021, 2022. And I will call the time here at 3:15 p.m. So we will proceed to the public hearing.
Okay. You want me to handle the public hearing?
If you would like to.
I sure will.
I'll be happy to.
All
take
right,
it
so this
over.
is the public hearing on the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2021, 2022. At this time, we would take any comments from the public regarding the proposed budget. Is anyone here that would like to speak regarding that proposed budget?
So it does not appear that we have anyone who would like to speak in the public hearing.
We'll give 1 minute.
Certainly.
Again, we'll ask.
Tell us what's next.
Okay. Well,
Do you have something?
could you
Come on up.
approach the microphone and state your name?
Mrs. Rasko.
I just want to say thank you for putting $5,000 in for the library. So many families from this community use this library, and it is a wonderful asset to the Wimberley Valley, and Woodcreek is part of the Wimberley Valley. So thank you for putting that in. I appreciate
Monica,
it.
could you state your name for the record?
Oh, Monica Rasco.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment at this time? I thought Pat might want to thank us all for all the parks money and ask us for more. I'm not putting you on the spot. We just appreciate.
No.
everything you've done.
I am incredibly,
Would you state your name for the record?
my name is Pat Rawlings. I am the chair of the Parks and Recreation Board. And I just want to thank the council for supporting what we have proposed to POSAC with the match that will help enable Hayes County to help Woodcreek to really have support for the children and the grandparents and their children in Woodcreek. So thank you very, very much. And thank you for reminding me, and I should have come up.
That's all right. We wanted you on the record, Pat. Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Doug, in case I call on you. You may proceed, Mr. Manager.
Well, seeing there's no other public comments, we will declare the public hearing closed at 3:17 PM local time.
Yes, so the public hearing is closed at 3:17 PM. We will move to the public hearing on the proposed tax rate for the 2021 tax year, and it is 18 PM. And would you like to present?
Once again, this is the public hearing on the proposed tax rate for the 2021 tax year. At this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak regarding the proposed tax rate? Again, we will ask, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak regarding the proposed tax rate?
We will close the public hearing on the tax rate, the proposed tax rate, and it is what time is it? 3:18 PM. We'll go to item 8, the 2021-22 budget workshop. And we will begin the budget workshop at 3:18 PM. And would you like to present?
Yes, we did.
Workshop.
You had in your packet before you had the changes that were discussed at the budget workshop from the previous meeting. And basically, I'm asking, is there any questions or is there anything that you would like to review again?
I'd like to, if I may.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBron.
I would like to, we spent 4 hours, August 25th, and I went through the packet, to today's packet, and I compared it to the August 25th packet with our notes. And I found that all the changes that we had agreed upon have been made. I have a detailed category, and I also have, we got a change in revenue of a decrease of revenue of 276,850. And we have a change in expenditures by reducing some categories. We also had a decrease of $276,850. Category that I do want to bring attention to was the miscellaneous category. The miscellaneous category as originally presented was 257,500. Now it's 120,650, which is a reduction of 137,850. The items that we reduced were the truck by 12,000, comprehensive plan by 15,000, generator 5,000, siren 50,000, traffic study 30,000, and the library by 25,000. What this has the effect is, the final effect is, if you look at the August 25th, the amount of money that would have to be taken for our reserves to pay for the expenditures. Having taken these steps, council having taken these steps, the amount of money taken from reserves, as you can see, the comparison is significantly less, leaving the city in a better position. So I just wanted to see, we spent a lot of time on these, and I think I wanted to summarize, and hopefully we move forward on this document and revisit decisions that were made on August 25th.
And in addition to that, if Councilmember Pulley would drop his lawsuit, we could drop another $50,000 off of that.
All you gotta do is stop breaking the law.
Oh,
It's easy.
thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Pulley. I have affidavits here from everyone who has served in the last 2 years.
Is this on the agenda? What are we doing with the affidavit and whatnot? Just a
And
constant
these
item?
affidavits seem to think that we have been doing everything by the law.
Well, good, follow us in the lawsuit. I'll take a look at it.
I'll be happy to.
I
By the way,
don't think you have the floor. Councilmember
You'll have
Pulley.
an opportunity to testify in
We're
our
talking
open.
about a budget item that Councilmember Brisendine had a perfect right to bring up. So let her speak. If you have something to say, then I'll let you speak when she's finished. Would you like to go on?
Yes, I think that it is apropos that I speak about a $50,000 litigation budget.
I'm sorry. I thought I had written this down. Can you confirm the difference amount that serves to cover the budget? What we have today?
The original budget that was proposed, that we went through last week, I don't have it, but, well, the second draft, we were at 276,670. And the third draft, so basically, if you look at what we're estimating year in, because I did project out the amount of money that we did not spend this year is 124,150. So, and now we're projected to make the balance budget for this next year will be 147. So we're only about 23,000 difference from what we saved from the year before. Now, I also prepared for you, and that was at the request of the council members at the last meeting. That right now, this is as of August 31st, 2021. And you can see I took every one of our operating accounts, our investment accounts, what our projected revenues are through the end of the fiscal year this year, and the projected maintenance operations revenue for 21-22, which is almost $2.6 million total. Now, when you look at what we're required to reserves and expenses, our financial advisor reserves recommendation of 500,000, 3 months M&O reserve average 213,000. Our projected expenses through the end of this fiscal year at 81,000. Our Woodcreek Drive project for 400,000, and what we had the other things that are budgeted plus the projected M&O expenses 21-22. Basically, that's about a $62,000 difference. So it's but as you know, the revenues will change. I'll get the relentless.
I've got a couple questions. Let me address them. I realize I want to break the law. I think that's wrong. The city to spend taxpayer money depending on the content. So, the other thing I want to point out.
I'm sorry,
I
I'm
have the
going
floor.
to
I have the
interrupt you.
floor.
I am
want to
going
point
to
out.
interrupt you this time.
I have the floor.
I have heard enough of your constant.
I'm just
I am going to speak at this time.
The second thing I want to say
I'm
is
going
I've
to
made
speak at
repeated
this
efforts
time.
to try and resolve it.
Is the constable in the room?
I have the floor, do I not? I mean, I'm just responding to.
I am taking it back. Because you have constantly, repeatedly said, when you stop breaking the law.
Yeah.
The law has not been broken. I'm going on record with 100 times. You have one law broken, and I'm tired of you saying it over and over.
I'm just
Because
answering
you
a
say
question.
it does not make it true. It is an untruth, and I'm on record for that now.
Ma'am,
I
you'll have an
had enough of
opportunity to
your
go on record.
lies.
Let me take your
So let's
deposition.
go on to the
So you'll-
matter that you would like to speak to.
This is what I want to speak to. I've made, I think,
Stop
multiple
spending
try to resolve the
city's
litigation
money.
and just try to get the city to follow the law. I've had
Stop
4 attempts to try to
spending the
resolve. You
city's
guys have rejected
money.
every one of them. So don't
Stop
complain to me about spending
spending the
taxpayer money,
city's money.
defending individuals who break the law. Now, the questions I have on the budget item, if I can
We are here to,
It is a budget item. Jeff, I have every right to bring it up. I will not be reprimanded for bringing up a budget item in a budget workshop.
Is it provoking to tell the truth and to have discussion in a council meeting?
It's hard to have discussion when I'm
This is
continually
not
cut off
your-
and talking.
This is
you know?
not
I have the floor, right? Do I not? So I'd like to
now
ask my
one more
questions with
time,
regard
and
to
then
budget.
that's it.
Well, under the Open Meetings Act and under
You
Robert's Rules of
cannot
Order,
lecture me. I'm a
when
50-plus
you
year
recognize
lawyer,
someone, I
and
have the floor, or
cannot
at least a
keep
little bit.
lecturing me.
Just let me
I'm
talk
tired
and let me
of
ask my questions. I thought I had the
Frivolous.
floor. I just would like to be
Let's
able to
move
see. Can I ask my questions?
I would like for us to get back to the purpose.
Okay, put that on the record. And I'll level it with affidavits.
Like
Can't wait.
I don't have to show you nothing.
They don't exist.
Oh, yes, they do.
Okay,
I'll have your chance.
if I may, please go back to the purpose of this meeting, which is to review the budget for the third year. And let's stick to the subject. And I think I began by saying that we did a lot of work, and I think we did good work. So based on that good work, let's proceed. We are on the schedule to get our budget completed and our tax rate.
Always start on line 3,000. And so I had a question, like at first, on the first draft of the budget, we had a balance forward of, 90 something thousand, right? Which is like, okay, so that is that money we didn't spend and we're going to carry it over. And then after that, we start going to transfer from reserve, which sounds like.
Well, and basically, I changed the terminology because it would be a transfer from reserves, because anything we don't spend goes into the reserves.
Okay.
And
Okay,
so,
the balance forward is still a
transfer from reserves, yes.
Okay. Okay, because I've been holding on to these, I'm going to hold it. If we move from 92,000 to the good to, 147,000.
And the reason, because of that is because on the first draft was the bare bones budget until we started adding in what the council requested to be added. And then that's when we got to the 247,000 and back and forth to where we are now.
So and you mentioned something like probably 120 something thousand we're not going to spend this year.
Right,
And
which would go
that
into the
part of that
reserve.
47 that we're transferring from reserves.
And so that would be the offset and go into the reserves. And so that would be where that difference is.
Okay.
And of course, we won't know how much it is until we close the books,
Right,
but.
right. That's what I understood. I just want to clarify. Thank you.
Do you have another question?
I have some questions. Could I be recognized? I have some questions on the budget.
Yes, Councilmember Pulley.
Thank you. I'm looking at, looks like 8,900. We're talking about the pickup truck again, the $23,000 pickup truck. Have we committed to buying that, or why is that on the budget? Anybody have-
Basically, Councilmember Pulley, that was discussed by the members last
Right,
time we
I
had a
wasn't here
meeting.
last week.
That is there is nothing in this budget, especially in that 8,900 miscellaneous category, that is a commitment to buy. It is something that is projected to make, that could be purchased. Council would still have to authorize the purchase of it at the time.
Okay, so a future council will have to authorize the purchase. The other question I have is we have 23,000 for a new truck, but we have zero for traffic study. I mean, why are we not trying to figure that out?
Go ahead. I would, if I may address that.
Yes.
This was in the area of miscellaneous, and this was $30,000 for a traffic study. And we had discussion that we are not saying we're not going to do the traffic study. We're saying that we have an engineer on the payroll. We also have been collecting data for 18 months or so, comparison data. And we plan to bring, we did not feel that it was necessary to spend another $30,000 for somebody to repeat when we have the data and the resources to produce a report to council, which will be done very, hopefully within the next month or so.
The next how long? Huh?
Month or so.
Oh.
Within a month or so, I hope.
That'd be
I mean,
interesting to
there's a
check.
lot on our plate right now. There's a lot of agenda items. That's my hope. I also, if you would notice, we had $30,000 to complete the comprehensive plan. I requested that we cut it in half because I feel that I have competent citizen volunteers. I also feel that we can do that with, we do not have to pay those monies. If we can do it a good job, and we can, including a town hall to present our findings to the citizens by $15,000. So that was reduced. And we also reduced the emergency siren. And the reason for doing that was that we did not believe that we had sufficient information. We sending it back to the committee to explore options. So that's how we were in a very serious mode. And we spent 4 hours looking for ways to bring the budget down so that we would not have to deplete our reserves and put the city in a compromise the city fiscal soundness. And the pickup truck was reduced by $12,000. The original amount was about $35,000, which I was shocked when Councilmember Rasco told me that's a basic pickup. But we reduced it by about $13,000. So just in that category, we did reductions over $100,000, Mr. Pulley. We worked very hard.
May I be recognized? May we move on, please? Mr. Pulley is getting an explanation of what happened at the meeting he was not present at.
That's it.
I'm
We'll
done,
move
so
on.
Doesn't matter to me. Go ahead.
Are there any other comments, any other discussion
I think that
in the budget workshop? And I think we'll take a recess if that's okay with everyone.
good idea.
Maybe five to 10 minutes here. Yeah, we'll be back here at 3:45 and it's 3:32. 3:34.
you. Yeah. I know, I'm the same way.
We're live. We're live. Again. We're live. We're live.
It's 3:45. Doing the budget workshop. Final vote on the 2021, 2022 budget, September 22, 2025. And we also want to add separate. So I need a motion, please, on item 9. Second, Fresco.
Why? Because you're not supposed to adopt everything the same day as what you it was the first time we have a forum.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun. Councilmember Brisbane.
Aye.
Councilmember Foley.
Aye.
Councilmember Henry.
Aye.
Councilmember Rasta. Councilmember Resco.
Aye.
Councilmember Hambrick.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun. Councilmember Brisbane.
Aye.
Councilmember Foley.
Aye. Well, you do have a resolution. These are about changes. We don't actually have an investment advisor. We have, as you saw, that our money is in with Texas Class, which is basically a pool. Yes, and then we also have the investments in the Texas Regional Bank.
Because the resolution, mentioned, all the rules about getting.
Well, there is, and basically, I am your certified Public Funds Investment Act person.
So basically, I have to go through training every 2 years to make sure that we're meeting all requirements. We are not as diverse as larger cities. You know, we just keep it as basically the most, like the 2 funds that we have, and they pay about the same. But, but we have to have the review of the investment every year.
I just remember that, I mean, we never really talked about the investment advisor like we talk about, you know, the audit people or
Right.
engineer.
Yeah. And we do have our financial advisors that we issued the tax notes through. And so.
Thank you.
Or any other discussion? Did we vote on this?
We need to. We did. You ready?
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hambrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Brizendine,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem LeBrun,
Aye.
Councilmember Rasco,
Aye.
Councilmember Pulley,
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And I do believe that we have completed the agenda for today. That was not a workshop. We're done. Okay. We are adjourned.